You're listening to an archived Cabral Concept podcast. After listening to this show, check out the most up-to-date podcasts available at stephencabral.com/podcasts or search directly on iTunes. And now, welcome to the Cabral Concept, where board-certified naturopath and integrative health practitioner Dr. Stephen Cabral shares how he was diagnosed at the age of 17 with a life-altering illness and given no hope for recovery. It was only after studying and traveling all over the world did he discover how to combine ancient Ayurvedic healing practices with state-of-the-art naturopathic and functional medicine to fully rebalance the body and re-energize it with life. It's time to discover how to get well, lose weight, and finally feel alive again. And now, here's your host, Dr. Stephen Cabral.
Today is going to be an exciting one because I get to speak about one of my favorite modern-day philosophers and what he really challenges people with today in order to live their best life, but not their best life in terms of accumulating all the things that they want in life, but really in order to achieve happiness. That's one of the main things we're all after. And even those people that go after a lot of materialistic-based things, I don't necessarily think that that's wrong at all. But at the end of the day, a lot of this accumulation takes place, or a lot of the doing takes place in order to fill a void in our life and in our mind and in our heart. And we do that in order to achieve the love, the peace, and the happiness that we're all looking for. So today what I want to share with you is this. There is an absolute, I would say, epidemic in our society being perpetuated by the media that tell us to essentially put off until tomorrow if it doesn't absolutely need to be done today. And it's easy to go along with this. It absolutely is. And the reason is that tell me anyone who you don't know that's really busy, like under the age of, let's say, 70 years old, 80 years old. And the reason is that you probably have a job or a career or a family. You have something outside of you that you're responsible for probably 8 hours a day. And then let's add another hour to 2 hours of commute time. So let's say you're up for 16 hours out of the 24-hour day. 8 of those hours, so 8 of your 16 hours are dedicated to family, if you're the stay-at-home mom or stay-at-home dad or whatever it might be. Now, you might also have a career and be taking care of the family, right? So now we have the career, we have commute time, dropping off the kids, or it might be taking care of an elderly parent on top of your work as well, or friends, right? Something you're doing. So let's say we have 10 hours dedicated to our work with commute and all of that. Well, we have 6 hours left. Now, I've done a show before on how we are wasting a lot of that time. But I would love you to listen to that show. But I also want to be a little bit more sensitive and aware of the demands on people's time today. But I also want to let you know that there's a big trade-off. So with those extra 6 hours or so a day, what are we doing, right? Some of it's getting ready for the day. Some of it's again, getting the family where they need to be, cooking dinner. It could be going to the gym. There's a lot of things we could be using that time for. But what are those couple hours a day that we all have? That it's not that we're not in movement, right? We're always in movement. We're always in flux. But what are we doing that could actually be dedicated to something else? And I want to talk about what that something else is here today, because many of us have a goal. Many of us have something we're looking to achieve. And I typically lump that into my improve relationships, improve spirituality, improve career or finances or your passion, whatever that project is, improve your body and improve your health, right? By body, I mean fitness, body transformation, overall fitness, we'll put it that way. So, typically we have goals in those areas. Now, also at the same time, they're not really being met. There are a lot of things that it's probably been, if we're really honest with ourselves, I have to be honest myself, okay? And if we're really honest with ourselves, there are probably things that we've wanted to achieve for a couple of years now. Now, things that we know that wouldn't take a couple of years to achieve, right? Like if we need to lose that last 30 pounds, I've spoken about this before, maybe 3 months, maybe 4 months to lose that weight, 6 months maximum. I mean, that's it. So certainly not a couple of years. If we're looking to improve our health and we know it has to do with either running a lab or cleaning up our gut, our digestive system, or changing our diet or going to bed a little bit earlier, we know we'd be able to implement that as well. Relationships too. It's like, oh, well, okay, things aren't going so well, but I'll work on that when I get more time next week or I'm back from travel or whatever this might happen. We're always kind of putting off, but there's a big problem with that. Before I get into today's chat on this, which again is important for me, and I hope that it's important for you as well, is that I have many mentors. So again, I tell people that I've read thousands and thousands of books. And the only reason I say that is to let you know that I've learned from some of the most brilliant minds in the world. When I'm sharing thoughts, philosophies, things like that, I'm drawing from the wisdom of all of these brilliant people. One of those people I want to share with you today, since many of the people in the books that I read, those people are no longer with us. And one of the things that we don't always do is celebrate the brilliant people that are here today. And one of those people that I want to pay homage while he is here is Jordan Peterson. And I hope that Jordan Peterson is here with us for many decades to come. He's been going through some health issues right now. I wish him the best. I send him my thoughts, and I hope that he makes a quick recovery. Of course, my services are always available, and I would love to be able to help in the future if I can ever be of service to him and his family as well. But that's not what today's show is about. Today's show is about understanding his brilliance and the way that his mind thinks, and him drawing off various brilliant people before him, such as Carl Jung. He's a big advocate of Carl Jung. I love Carl Jung's based philosophies as well. But Jordan Peterson talks about this. And you know what I'll actually do? And since the way in which I speak comes from my voice, it comes from my understanding and the way that I've lived life and the experiences that I've had, all of the people that I've been able to meet in my practice, and of course, traveling all over the world. And Jordan Peterson speaks from being a clinical psychologist, right? So he has a PhD, I believe, in psychology. And so he speaks from that tone. What I'd love to do, if you've never listened to Jordan Peterson speak, I'm going to embed a video today. And you can watch that video at StephenCabral.com/1494. So you can head on over to StephenCabral.com/1494, and I'll embed it in. This video has over 1.3 million views, and you'll hear a lot of what I'm speaking about today, again, in my voice, but some of that drawing off Jordan Peterson as well. And again, him drawing from Carl Jung. I'm thinking about Jim Rohn and many other brilliant people that I've spoken about and that I've heard before. But what they all talk about is being very careful about continuing to put off and put off and put off in life. Because here's what happens. We get into a cycle, and most things in life are based on habitual motions, like what are our habits, right, that keep us in motion. And we begin to get in that cycle where tomorrow, the next day, next year doesn't need to be done now. But that in and of itself can lead to an unhappy life. And I'm going to share with you why in just a moment. But Jordan Peterson shares one more thing that I found was really brilliant. I speak about this in terms of health. One of the ways that you get back robust health, one of the ways that you actually become stronger is by gradual exposure to hermetic stressors. Now you might be saying, what does that mean? A gradual exposure to hermetic stressors is this. The person that can't handle a high heat sauna does not have to go in and do the 19 minutes that I recommend right out of the gates. What they can do is they can actually go in that sauna for 90 seconds the first week. They just go in every day, or let's say 5 days of the week for 90 seconds. And they come out and they say, oh, it's almost like nothing happened. Good. That's what we want. Then the next week, they're going to go in for 3 minutes. And they go in for 3 minutes to say, oh, maybe a little warm, but no big deal. And then the third week, they're going to go up to 6 minutes. And at 6 minutes, how are they feeling? Oh, I'm starting to feel a little more heat, starting to feel like this is pretty intense, right? It's for them, it's just 6 minutes, but they're starting to feel it. The next week, they can decide if they want to take that to 9 minutes or 12 minutes. And if they did 12 minutes and they start to feel a little bit tired that next day, or they got an accelerated heart rate, they know they can always say, okay, I'm not ready for that 12 minutes yet. Let me just go back down to 6 for a couple days, and then I'll try 7 minutes. But they're gradually exposing themselves to something that they were never able to handle before. And before they know it, maybe it's 3 months later, they're able to handle that sauna and they never could before. Now, a lot of people would go in for the 19 minutes, they'd get accelerated heart rate, they'd start to feel dizzy, they'd feel terrible, and they'd never do it again. Because they tried to jump in at someone else's endpoint. You need to start at your starting point. And too often we compare ourselves to someone else's finished product. Someone looks at someone else doing a podcast or on video, and we have a lot of integrative health practitioners, and they want to begin to share their message. Or maybe they're even looking at what I'm doing in the podcast. You're doing a daily podcast and you speak for, 22 minutes a show or whatever it might be. But here's the thing. I've done now 1,494 shows. Listen to my first 50 podcasts. They sound very different. It is me, though, learning the craft of podcasting and also video. Like, we're going to start to do a lot more video. Before the videos are decent, they're not going to be as great, but that's okay because that's part of the process. It's almost like weightlifting. You're going to have calluses on your hands. They're going to peel and your hands are going to get rough. And then after a while, what happens? Well, no, the hands become calloused. They're used to doing that type of work. So what I say to you is this. We need to begin to gradually expose ourselves to the things that we are afraid to do. Because here's the thing. We all know that there are things in our life that we are putting off. But we know on the other side of doing those things will most likely come our goals. We know that going back to school, doing the certification, going to the seminars, whatever it might be, are going to lead us to the career or the knowledge that we want. Reading the books, right? Taking the online courses, anything, whatever you're interested in. Or we know that actually going out there and meeting people is one of those success factors, of course, in developing great relationships with friends, with our own family, even keeping in touch, right? Or finding that person that you want to meet. Same with health. So oftentimes we know what we need to do, but we continue to put it off because we fear it, right? I've talked about this before in a previous Mindset and Motivation Monday. We fear success, actually achieving what we want, or we fear failure, or simply we don't want to do the work because we're already doing so much. But I ask you this, what if you didn't keep putting off what you know you need to do? What would your life be like if you actually did the things that you need to do in just one area of your life in order to achieve that goal? So for example, let's say that you needed to lose that 30 pounds. And you know that if you lost that 30 pounds, you would be healthier. It'd be easier for you to move around. You'd have less joint pain, probably less autoimmune-based issues, less inflammation, better hormone regulation. You'd appreciate yourself that much more because you did the work in order to achieve the healthy body that you wanted. Your self-image you felt improved. All of these different things. Your life would probably be dramatically different. Now, maybe it is for some people, maybe it's not. And I'm not saying that you need to do that in order to improve your self-image. I hope that your self-image is not tied to how you look, how you feel you look. But regardless, for many people it is. And it's not necessarily a bad thing. Achieving a good, healthy weight for any reason is a good thing because most likely you'll be healthier. Less chance for cancer, less chance for heart disease, less chance for type 2 diabetes, less chance for high blood pressure. So hopefully you're going to live a longer, healthier life. Side effect is the body's in better shape. I mean, that's just the truth of the matter. A leaner body with a lower BMI is in better health, typically, okay? 90+% of the time. So things would be different. That's one area. Or what if you worked on your relationships and you actually looked forward to coming home every single night with your family, or you improved your relationships with your siblings or your family and you enjoyed getting together and reminiscing, all of those things? How would your life be different? So that's really important to look at that. Or let's say that you improved your career and you're doing that much better in terms of finances, income, and just pleasure of the work that you're doing. Again, what would your life be like? Think about that because this is really important. You want to start to feel that feeling. And also, how would it affect your family? So how would it affect those people around you, closest to you, if you were happier, you were achieving your goals, and you were doing better in those big 5 areas of your life? What would it be like? Again, start to imagine it. What would the effect have on your family as well? Because sometimes we're not willing to do things really just for ourselves. I'm a lot like that. I really am. If it's just for me, it's not as exciting. But if it could benefit my family, my extended family, then I'm all about it. Because inside of me, I love to please other people. I really do. And I think that's part of a downfall. It really is. You can take that too far for sure. I don't always think that that's the best thing, but I like being a caretaker. I really do. Of course, maybe that's why I got into natural health as well. One more reason, but I do love being able to care for others. I really enjoy doing that, and that's a big part of it. So now that I know that, though, I can kind of use that to an advantage to push myself to do certain things that maybe I don't really want to do for me, because I'm not interested in accolades and I'm not interested in those types of things. But I know that it could benefit a lot of other people out there and also benefit family, friends, etc. So I like doing that. But for you, what would it mean for your career, your health, your relationships, your body, your spirituality, if you began to stand up to some of those things that you're afraid to do or that you're putting off? Imagine what that would do for your life. And also understand this. As you start to stand up to just a few of the small things, I'm not looking for you to take on the biggest challenge in the world right out of the gates. Okay? I don't want that. It's like our graduated exercise program as well. If you're not exercising, please, there's no need to be doing high-intensity interval training or boot camps. You're not ready yet, nor do you have to be. You're not going to get better results. Start with your walking, right? Start to work that graduated exercise program. Then do some cardio, and then you're going to start to get in your bodyweight training. Then you can ramp it up from there. And that's only going to take, again, 12 weeks or so, 16 weeks. You have plenty of time. Dedicate yourself to a worthy ideal, right? Dedicate your life to something worth achieving. And as you start to do these smaller things like walking 10,000 steps per day before doing interval-based sprints, you will be able to realize you're capable of so much more. The problem is we sometimes just start with the hardest tasks, and the hardest tasks keep us from completing what we want to do because we're not gradually building up those calluses. We're starting right out of the gates and we end up with cuts and bruises. We don't want that, right? We want to gradually work up, and that's okay. But here's another thing. Oftentimes, and Jordan Peterson talks about this, we don't even think about what our goals are anymore. We don't think about what it is that we want to achieve because it's hard to admit that we aren't living up to our potential. It's also hard to think about what we could be in life if we began to stand up to our fears. It is a hard pill to swallow. It really is. No irony intended. And that's because we start to look at our life as it is now and what it could be. And I don't like to get down on myself when I think about, oh, well, you could be doing this, or you should have been doing this many, many years ago. And I still have that conversation with myself. But then I go back and say, listen, I always say to myself, listen, gentle, be easy, go easy. And the reason is this, I'm doing the best I can with where I'm at right now. Could I be doing better? Maybe, but I'm going to work on improving. I'm not going to beat myself up for things that I could have done a year, 2 years, 5 years ago. But I'm going to go easy on myself and realize, listen, this is going to stick with you unless you start to move forward in that direction. And that's what I do. And in my opinion, and I've chatted about this before on our Mindset and Motivation Mondays, is that ultimately we all need a plan. You don't need the forever plan, the 15-year plan, but you need a plan. What is it that you're moving towards? I call it a destination. What is your destination? For me, I knew it many years ago. I wanted to open my own nutrition, exercise, body transformation-based center. And the reason was this. I could not find a home in Boston, meaning like a home to exercise and work out with people and do nutrition with, many years ago as a young 20-something-year-old. And because all the gyms were just dedicated to getting people in, selling them memberships, hoping they never showed up. It's not what I wanted. 20 years ago, there was not what we have here today. It was just based on franchise models and gyms that I was working for. And so I said, listen, that's not what I want. It's also not what I want for this fitness-based industry. So I opened my own place. And now, many years later, we are dedicated to putting clients first. My team knows that. It's called creating a win-win-win. So what I want to do is this. My only job is to take care of our team, our nutritionists, health coaches, personal trainers. That's my only job. That's my job. Make sure they're taken care of, educate, answer their questions, help them out, answer the clients' questions, and then their job is to take care of the clients, okay? Because I realized many years ago, in order for us to do 20,000 appointments a year, which is, again, the number doesn't matter, but that's a whole lot of people we're helping. I can't work with all of those people. I can do about 2,000 a year. That's about what I can do. So then what do I do in order to help 20,000 people a year? Well, it's 10x that. Well, that means I need 10 times more people on the team to help 10 times more people, right? So my job is to take care of those 10 people, we'll say, and then their job is to help all of their people that they're working with. And that's the amazing thing. So the client wins, the personal trainer wins, and then I feel great as well. Like we're doing something that matters, right? That's how I look at it. And that's what I knew my plan was. And then, of course, it was later opening up a wellness center, which I'm excited to do. But it's not just about that. That's just the work side. Then I also say, I need the family side. Like, how do I balance that? And I realized many years ago, here's what I want to create for my family. And that's why, for me, it worked out. I had kids a little bit later. I didn't have kids until, believe somewhere. It's funny. I can't even do the math right now in my head, but had my first child 7 years ago. So in my 30s, what I was looking to do at that point was really say, listen, I think I've matured to a level that I'm now able to at least have more patience. That I can look back, not in hindsight, but try to realize things as they're happening. That my two girls need my attention. They don't need me to be at work all the time. I still have to work. It's what I do. It's also what I'm passionate about. But I need to be there. So I have a plan. My plan is to balance that out. It's not perfect balance. Like I'm at work this many hours a day, but when I'm home, I'm there. I'm present. I have the weekends off. It's their time. Whatever they want to do. I don't make plans on the weekend. It's my family's time. Whatever they have planned for me, good. That's fine. I'm going with the flow. That's their time. Now, that's just part of what I've created as part of my destination so that when I look back, I don't have those regrets. That's my biggest thing that I always talk about. Be careful about what you'll regret. That's the biggest thing. You don't have to do things for the sake of doing things, but please do the things that you would regret not doing. And I look at it like this, and I start to imagine if I did these things for family, for my body, my health, and that's the thing, I don't always want to exercise. There's a million things I have to do at work. It also is taken a little away from family time. So it's like, well, what do I do? Because it's taken away from the two other things that I love the most, right? My work that I'm passionate about, and my family. But I have to take care of myself. I have to do my exercise. I have to eat the meals that, maybe I'd say, oh, I'd love this instead, whatever it is, like pasta. Okay, but I can't do that. Can't do that all the time. Why? Because that's not what's best for my health. And I have to take care of my health because I have to take care of my health for my work and my family and all the things that I want to do. So that's why we have to do these things sometimes, not because we don't necessarily want to, but we want the end result. Right? So I start to imagine like, okay, well, if I'm doing this, then what does that lead to? And how does it affect not just my family, but my extended family? Like what else could I do for my family, right? Outside of my family? What can I do for our community? And we've teamed up with a lot of charitable-based organizations. Could never have done that even, let's say, 4 or 5 years ago. There's just no way. Not to the degree that we're doing now. But when we start to think of the bigger picture, I think we can absolutely achieve more. I really do. And Jordan Peterson says this, most people are running at about 51% capacity. And that's because they're wasting a lot of time. They're on social media too many hours per day. They're watching YouTube too many hours per day. Now, if it's learning, like when I watch a Jordan Peterson video, I'm there to learn. I really am. I'm there to learn. I'm there to be motivated, and it leads to other things. So that's not. But, watching cat videos, it's probably not the best use of your time, right? If you're looking to achieve more in life. Now, for someone that's not looking to, that's okay. I'm not calling out people to do more, to act more. Only if there is a plan, a destination, and a goal that you want for yourself. And so that's where it simply says this. It's not that you can't. Listen, I listen to podcasts. I watch YouTube videos. I enjoy an hour typically of TV or something before bed, okay? Before I do some light reading, kind of turn that mind off. So I do that. But what I try to do the rest of the time is be very efficient with my time so that things are scheduled, that things are planned, and that my day is my day. It doesn't become everyone else's all the time. Now, again, keep in mind, I am in meetings and I'm trying to serve as many people as I can, but it's still structured. It's still scheduled. And so I say to you, if your goal is to exercise more, schedule that. If your goal is to read more, schedule that. If your goal is to go for the certification, schedule it. Make it happen. Put a timeline. Go to the previous podcast I did on creating SMART goals, and you'll figure out exactly how to set those goals. Use what I call the 12-week year. You can check out a podcast on that. But imagine if you started to be more efficient. Imagine if you get back 2 hours of your day. Now, you might think to yourself right now, I don't have an extra 2 hours a day. But trust me, if you start to break down your day, there might be, let's say, 3 45-minute blocks or so, 4 30-minute blocks. They're there. They really are. There might be some time during lunch. There might be some time earlier in the day. There might be some time before bed. Oftentimes, those blocks are there, but they don't necessarily carry any priority, any reason to switch unless we switch our mindset. Unless we switch to a mode where our goal becomes a must. It becomes a priority that we have to achieve rather than, well, that would be nice to have someday. We need to change that mindset. And I'll tell you right now, my wish for you is this, is that you decide on your destination and then begin to slowly stand up to those fears that are holding you back. Because I believe on the other side of the challenge that lies ahead for you is the life and happiness you've been searching for. Thank you so much for tuning into this show. I appreciate you. I'm grateful for you. And of course, if this show was helpful, please do feel free to share it with anyone you believe it could serve. I want to sincerely thank you for your support of this podcast. I couldn't do it without you, and I mean that. I truly do. I also want to make sure you knew that we now have multiple ways for you to find your answers to the most difficult health, wellness, weight loss, and anti-aging questions. You can find podcast-specific topics like thyroid, adrenal, hormones, sleep, digestion, Ayurveda, and many more at stevencabral.com/podcasts that will then link you to your favorite Apple, Spotify, and other podcast players. Plus, all new podcasts and weekly exclusive video content is being added to our YouTube channel at youtube.com/Stephen Cabral. And that's Stephen with a PH. Head on over and subscribe so that you don't miss any of the exclusive content. Lastly, if you've ever found any of my podcasts or books to be helpful, I would really appreciate it if you could leave a review on iTunes or your favorite media player for the podcast. Rating and subscribing to the YouTube and podcast allow me to reach more and more people and help spread my mission of healing throughout the world. Thank you again for being a part of this movement.